And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. I don't even know where to start. Um, I was actually supposed to do this video last week after the Minnesota Vikings game. Got caught up in a lot of things. Coaching my son's football team, different stuff like that. Got kind of caught up, and I wasn't able to do the episode. Like I didn't rush it either, because I could have did something, but I expected the same thing that happened in the Vikings game to happen again, which is the Browns look terrible and lose. Like I expected the same thing to happen again, so I was like, it ain't really that important. I'll get to it next week. It's gonna be the same thing anyway. And boy, was I right. Not only that, the media world surrounding the Browns is just in shambles right now. Kevin Stefanski got people arguing back and forth with each other. This reminds me of the Baker Mayfield Odell Beckham thing. Back when we was doing that, when we had split sides. We had people that loved Baker and we had people that loved Odell. And it was like, if you loved Odell, that meant you hate Baker. And if you loved Baker, that meant you hated Odell. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. When truth be told, in hindsight, when we look back at that, we shouldn't have hated either one of them, Baker or Odell. You know who we should have hated? Kevin Stefanski. I can't, unfortunately, I'm not going to take my victory lap just yet. Because there are still an overwhelming amount of people who are either still on Stefanski's side or they refuse to completely remove themselves from that side. So they kind of sit on like a swinging door, if you will. When in my opinion, at this point, anybody who's defending Stefanski, when you listen to their defenses, their arguments, they're just grasping at straws. They're grasping at just anything they could possibly come up with. And the majority of the time, they just spew rhetoric. They just spew the popular talking points. They never really give any good, solid football-based information as to why do you think he's a good coach? Why? What are the reasons? The same stuff that they spew is the same stuff that they spew all the time. 2-time head coach of the year. He won the Browns a playoff game. One of the seasons that he won, he did it with multiple different quarterbacks. And I think that's pretty much about it. And they say that he hasn't had a chance to pick his franchise QB because the Watson trade blew everything up in the organization. So once they made the Watson trade, they just can't do anything else in life. They're not capable of doing anything else because the Watson trade set the organization back 50 years. So you can't do anything. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, man, how Kevin Stefanski has everybody at each other's necks. Pause. Like, it's absolutely crazy. When to me, it has always been obvious. It will continue to be obvious. In fact, before I go through the deep dive here, pause. I talk about this all the time of the Jets game in 2020 when I was done with Kevin Stefanski. It was shortly after we hired him, and I was done with him then. And the reason I said I was done with him in that Jets game in 2020 is because all of our wide receivers were out due to COVID. We had no wide receivers. I might have been starting at wide receiver that game. But we did have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And in that game, Kevin Stefanski decided to throw the ball 50-some times with Baker Mayfield. Why wouldn't you just run the ball? You got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and all your wide receivers is out due to COVID. Why wouldn't you just run the ball? You playing the Jets. Just run the ball. Like, I don't understand. And then 5.5 years later, 5.5 years later in this Pittsburgh Steelers game, it's a rookie. You got a rookie quarterback making his second start, a rookie quarterback that for the majority of the season we were told was not ready. He's making his second NFL start on the road against Pittsburgh. And Stefanski, what's your bright idea? Let's drop back, throw the ball. Well, you drop back 58 times. 52 times, you actually got a pass attempt off. So let's drop back 58 times. 52 pass attempts, while Quinshon Judkins carries the ball 12 times. Unanimously, your best player right now, on offense at least, is Quinshon Judkins. And he carries the ball 12 times. And then you hear people spew this narrative. You'll even hear Kevin Stefanski say this himself, in some clips that I'm going to play later on in the interview where he was being asked. You'll hear people say this, well, when you get behind, you can't run the ball. And the problem is, well, we didn't really get behind until like mid-fourth quarter. So why weren't you running the ball the rest of the time? Like, we weren't behind. The score was 9-3. Majority of the game was 9-3. You don't need to pass the ball in those scenarios. In fact, running the ball helps you a little bit more because even if you're not necessarily gaining a bunch of yardage down the field, at least you can slowly gain yards or at least try and eat time off of the clock. That would be your best friend, is taking that time off of the clock, because the more time you leave on the clock, the more time that the other team is going to have to score points, and eventually they're going to score points because the defense is tired of the offense not scoring points. So after a while on defense, I'm not tackling anybody, because what is I'm tackling somebody for? The offense not about to score no points, so why am I tackling? Why is I'm going out here putting my body on the line? For what? My goodness, man. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, the point that we've gotten to. Now, let's listen to all of these narratives get spewed. That I say, they use when you just grasping at straws. Let's listen to the narratives, and I'm gonna debunk each one as we go along here. So let's just take a listen to a few of them. These Browns media narrative pushers. The only one I give credit to is this guy Garrett Bush. He the one who tell it like it is. But the rest of these people are like these just beat writers or beat reporters and all this other stuff. Like, they spew narratives and they spew rhetoric and like to sound like they're intelligent. And it's like, buddy, I don't know who, maybe it's nepotism or something, how you got this job, how you still in this job talking football, because you have no idea what you're talking about. So let's listen to some of this trash that they've been spewing here lately. Let's start with this one.
Throwing a rock, and it was hitting people in the chest plates. They dropping it. Even when you line up as something creative and it looked like you got something. Guys, now it's 1st and 15, 1st and 20. And you're throwing it 52 times, and the Steelers is licking their chops. They look like they had 35 people on the field.
Absolutely crazy. And he's 100% correct about that. And the issue with that is all of those things were things that I was saying about how the team looked when Deshaun Watson was the quarterback last year. I was saying, oh, you talking about, y'all love to harp on him missing a throw here or there. Every quarterback misses throws here or there. What about the times that he's hitting these guys right in between the numbers and they drop the ball? Game winning, he leading the game-winning drive down the field, hit Cedric Tillman right between the numbers, he drops the ball. Hit Amari Cooper right in the hands, he drops the ball. Hit Jerry Jeudy right between the numbers, he drops the ball. That's not Deshaun Watson's fault. Same thing with the field goal kicker, missing field goals. Offensive line being terrible. I noted all of these things when Deshaun Watson was the quarterback. But instead, these narrative pushers told us the only thing that was wrong with the team, or at least 75% of what was wrong with the team, was all the quarterback. We've been through, I think, 9 quarterbacks since Deshaun Watson. and all of them have looked the same. They've looked exactly like Deshaun Watson. The only quarterback that didn't look like Deshaun Watson was Jameis Winston, but the problem is when Jameis Winston was in there, Ken Dorsey was the one calling the plays, not Kevin Stefanski. So the one quarterback who hasn't looked like Deshaun Watson, well, Kevin Stefanski wasn't calling plays for him. Coincidentally, could that be why he didn't look like Deshaun Watson and the rest of the quarterbacks? Is because Kevin Stefanski wasn't calling plays for him. It was Ken Dorsey, who's the passing game coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys right now, who the Dallas Cowboys got one of the better offenses in the league as far as right now. Yeah. Ken Dorsey is over there, the passing game coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys don't have no problem scoring points in NFL football games. They don't have problems scoring points over there. That's all I'm saying. Let's get to the next narrative here.
Defensive front. I've got one there. I don't have NFL caliber starting wide receivers, and I don't have NFL caliber starting offensive linemen. And you could have had Travis Hunter or a tackle it too. Yeah. So I just can't judge the quarterback. By the way, you're missing.
So you saying that you don't have NFL caliber talent at wide receiver is what you're saying. You saying you don't have NFL caliber talent at wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy was a Pro Bowler last year. Oh, that's right. When Jerry Jeudy was a Pro Bowler last year, the majority of the season last year, he had Ken Dorsey calling the plays for him, not Kevin Stefanski. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because this same guy who was a Pro Bowler last year, he was a Pro Bowler. So there's a difference between NFL caliber and then Pro Bowler. Pro Bowler is better than just an NFL caliber receiver. Pro Bowler. Matter of fact, here, watch this. Let's just take a quick listen to what just last year, this very same panel of guys, let's listen to what they were saying about Jerry Jeudy last year.
It's open this consistently since Josh Gordon. I mean, that's it. And I'm looking at it going. I think you're right. Yeah. I'm looking at it going, how is this dude this open all the time? All the time. Are you getting schemed like that? He actually is the reason Deshaun Watson got sat down. Because when
they going as far as to even say Jerry Jeudy looking so good that he's the reason Deshaun Watson had to get sat down. When it's not, it's the Achilles. But that's how they like, how is Jerry Jeudy just, he's catching these passes and he's so open all the time. He's just wide open. So wait a minute. So last year, when Ken Dorsey was calling the plays, Jerry Jeudy running, oh my God, we haven't had a guy this wide open since Josh Gordon. Like, they literally mentioned Josh Gordon and Jerry Jeudy in the same sentence. And Josh Gordon is one of the biggest, what ifs in NFL history at his position. You know what I'm saying? Almost looked at like how Brandon Roy was in basketball. You know what I mean? Or Grant Hill. Like, if those guys never got injured, my goodness, they could be arguably the best ever there at their position. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how Josh Gordon was viewed. And you mentioned Jerry Jeudy name and Josh Gordon in the same sentence. That's how you was talking about Jerry Jeudy last year. Oh my God, this guy, he's having a phenomenal season and he's just the best season of his career. And he's just always running so wide open. Now, to give them respect, they did say, but we have to see more of it before we just 100% for certain say he's the number one. He's proven that he can be a number one. They did say we do have to see more of that. But the way that we saying he's always running wide open, and not only that, the guy finished the season as a Pro Bowler. What more could you possibly be looking for there? What more could you? I'm trying to figure out what more could you possibly ask for. Because the guy went from Pro Bowler under Ken Dorsey's system. He went from Pro Bowler to not even NFL caliber by this panel, by their standards. You went from Pro Bowler in 1 year to the next year, you not even NFL caliber. Well, if you asking me, instead of just blaming it all on Jerry Jeudy, saying it's just Jerry Jeudy, I'm looking at the particulars, which is, well, when you was a Pro Bowler, you had Ken Dorsey calling the plays for you. Now, when we're saying you're not an NFL caliber receiver, well, Stefanski is the one calling the plays for you. And if you know anything about Stefanski's system in this panel of guys, it's like if you've been watching any of these Browns games over the past 5.5 years, you would know that Stefanski's system does not feature wide receivers. I mean, this goes back to Stephon Diggs. Like we dating way back to then. Kevin Stefanski's system has never featured wide receivers. So for you to get, like, if you get like this top-notch receiver, that this guy amassing all these receiving yards in Kevin Stefanski's system as a wide receiver, that's an anomaly. That don't normally happen. Kevin Stefanski favors tight ends. That's just what his system does. It favors tight ends. Like, and you run a lot of stick routes and curls. And you're not really going down the field. Like, we're not really pushing the ball down the field. Like, that's the Stefanski system at the current moment. Like, I don't get it. So, I mean, again, I debunk that with their own terminology just from the previous year, saying how open he is, and they can't believe that he's just running so wide open. Yeah, he was being schemed open by the person who was calling the plays. They was calling plays to get him open. His yards, his miles per hour, and separate all that old type of stuff. He the same guy that he was last year. It's the exact same player. So how was Ken Dorsey able to get this guy so wide open last year? But somehow this year we got all these struggles, and and then even when he is open, he barely catch the ball. Mind you, last year he led the league in drops. He still was a Pro Bowler. Still. And he led the league in drops, and he still was a Pro Bowler. Like, at some point, man, we got to start looking at all of the evidence instead of just picking and choosing, cherry picking what we want to use. Let's listen to some more of these garbage spewed rhetorics here.
Yeah. I've said that for 2 weeks.
Yes, because we were told he couldn't play.
If you want to fire Kevin, you don't fire Kevin because they didn't run the ball at the goal line. That's not why you fire him.
Yeah.
You fire him because they told you Jackson Dart isn't.
There was one there, and you didn't think he was there. And now, in fairness,
so if you're gonna fire Kevin, you don't fire Kevin because he didn't run the ball on the goal line. You fire him because you took Dylan Gabriel over Jackson Dart. That's why you fire him. That's what happens when you get people who are so quarterback heavy that think that the only key to winning football games is having this Patrick Mahomes of a quarterback or this Josh Allen of a quarterback. That's the only way that you win games. And if it's not the only way, it's 85% of the way that you win games in the NFL. Now, mind you, I could point to several teams this year that's winning games in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts is one of them. Daniel Jones was never looked at as a Patrick Mahomes type, a Josh Allen type, anything nowhere near that. But the Indianapolis Colts are winning football games this year. The San Francisco 49ers are winning football games this year, despite playing Mac Jones, Kendrick Bourne, and a bunch of who knows who these guys are. And they still managing to win football games. There's a few other notable teams. The Minnesota Vikings, who we just played 2 weeks ago. Kevin O'Connell, he was missing. He was playing Carson Wentz. They had the backup running back and three backup offensive linemen, I think. The center, I think, was the first time he ever played center in his entire NFL career. And somehow they can manage to win football games. Somehow they can manage to win football games. Like, at some point, you got to start making this stuff make sense, and it doesn't. Let's listen to some more. Let's listen to some more of the narratives, the rhetorics. See what we got here.
He's playing with the worst wide receiving group I've ever seen in the NFL. Ever. I can never remember a time that a team had a worse group.
I think
of
the
wide
Browns
receivers.
have had worse groups.
The Browns have. I mean, notoriously, we don't have good wide receivers.
Now, right there, what's so crazy is the craziness on the panel had to call out its own craziness on the panel. Not only do we not have any NFL caliber wide receivers, it's the worst wide receiving core ever. What? Because I could think of some Browns, just like this other idiot said, I could think of some Browns teams that had a worse wide receiving core. You don't remember Greg Little? You don't remember him? Y'all don't remember him? Remember when we had Michael Jackson? Not beat it, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, he was wide receiver for the Browns. Michael Jackson was his name. We had so many just garbage wide receivers that for you to say that this is the worst wide receiving core. This wide receiving core has a Pro Bowler on it. He was a Pro Bowler last year, and you saying this is the worst wide receiver core. Mind you, Cedric Tillman even looked better last year under Ken Dorsey's play calling. Cedric Tillman looked a whole lot better. We was kind of like, hey, could Cedric Tillman be something here? Maybe not. This is the best he's looked since he's been here. That was when Ken Dorsey was calling the plays. Let's listen to some more. Let's listen to some more, man. Let's get some more of this garbage in.
You suck. Yeah, but then Deshaun to come
I really like this one. I really like this one. Let me run it back.
I think they actually have a secret text chat.
Oh, that text chat. And we, you know what, man? That's crazy. He threw me out there. I was hurt half the season. Then he had the nerve to tell me I need to get my life together. Deshaun was like, listen, man. Give me. What's his name? Ken Dorsey. I mean, at least Ken Dorsey throw the ball downfield. If you ask yourself,
the rest of the players would have said, let's face it, Deshaun, you suck.
Yeah, but then Deshaun would come back and say, well, listen, Joe, you looking good, just as good as I did last year. You're like, you ain't lying, dog.
So they making fun of, they saying like all of the old quarterbacks got like this secret group chat where maybe they talk about, they experience with the Browns and stuff like that. And you got this one idiot trying to be facetious, because he saying like, well, Deshaun Watson probably in the text chat like, well, at least Jameis Winston got to work with Ken Dorsey. Like Ken Dorsey ain't never get to call no plays for me. At least he called plays to throw the ball down the field. Then this other guy got to be an idiot and say, well, I mean, all the other players will be like, well, let's just face it, Deshaun, you just suck. Ha ha ha. Like basically out of all these other quarterbacks, the only one that definitively you just suck is Deshaun Watson. Oh, you just suck. And then G. Bush, the one guy that I say be keeping it real, he had the most epic comeback ever. They'd be like, the other guys would be like, well, Deshaun, let's just face it, you just suck. He was like, but yeah, then Deshaun to turn around and say, yeah, but you look just like me last year. So if you saying that I suck, when you was in Stefanski's playbook, you look just like me. So what are we talking about here? What are we saying? Like, what are you saying? What are you saying? You want to tell me that I suck, no matter how bad you want to say I suck. Guess what? When you in Stefanski's playbook, you look just like me. How ironic is that? How you can tell me I suck all you want to. When you in that playbook, you look exactly the same as what I did. And not to mention, Joe Flacco in the very first game with the Cincinnati Bengals since being traded there. First of all, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Now, they didn't win the game. Okay? But 2 touchdowns, no picks, over 200 passing yards, and looked decent. Like, I mean, he looked like Joe Flacco. Like, he looked decent. Looked like if you give him a little bit more time to pick up the playbook and stuff like that, he could probably win a few games with the Cincinnati Bengals. He could probably win a couple games over there. You know what I'm saying? For all the people who, again, spewing the rhetoric, but he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins over there. He didn't have that with the Browns. You know who else had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Jake Browning. How did that work out for him? So clearly, you got to be some type of good at quarterback. You can't just be a complete bum, and just because you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you could be a bum and still be successful throwing passes in the NFL. No, I'm sorry. Doesn't work like that, buddy. That's not it. That's not how it goes. So for all the people who, you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so did Jake Browning. And how did he look? He didn't look too good, did he? That's why they had to go get Joe Flacco. Okay, so Again, we just spewing the rhetoric because we got to mention Deshaun Watson's name, even though that man ain't played a down of football for the Browns and I don't know how long, but somehow we still got to mention that guy's name. But people wonder why I won't stop mentioning his name, why I won't stop bringing up the fact that all we did was blame him and everything still looks terrible. Everything that we said was wrong when he was there, it's the same stuff that's wrong. We all said that stuff was wrong because of him, but now that he's gone, the stuff's still wrong. All of it is still messed up. Still, let's listen to some more of this absolute garbage.
To be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
Let me help you out.
Now that's Mike Tomlin, kind of just pointing out, and I think he was pointing out a few things, like number one, basically saying like y'all mishandled your quarterback room, because if you thought enough to make this guy your starter, how did you bail on him so quickly? You know what I mean? And then not only just bail on him so quickly when you traded him in the division. When truth be told, I don't think, and I think this is what coming from Tomlin's mind, I don't think Flacco is as bad as he's looked over there with the Browns. I think Stefanski over there making him look bad. And then you mean to tell me you get off of him and then you trade him in the division when that's clearly about to make the Bengals better? Like, that's clearly going to make them better. Clearly, it's going to make them better. Clearly, it's about to make them better. Why would you do that? Like, what? And I think that's what Tomlin. But again, that's the difference in a winning coach with a winning mentality, and then whatever mentality the Browns and they coaching or whatever has. And I don't even blame Andrew Berry, but we'll get into the Andrew Berry. The people who blame Andrew Berry, we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's just listen to some more of this garbage rhetoric that be spewed.
Somebody said
in the NFL.
I
Still,
happened
but
in baseball.
to Jay's point, we're not talking. None of them made the worst trade in NFL history. None of them took a quarterback that is in the running for an MVP this year.
In NFL history, I'd say second, but go ahead.
No, I think it's the worst.
No, it's the worst.
All right, I think it's the worst.
Are you saying Herschel?
So basically what we talking about here, what they talking about here, what they saying is, somebody brought up the fact of, other teams, working through stuff and winning football games. Like I was talking about with the 49ers or what the Minnesota Vikings did. Like, they brought up like, well, hey, I mean, these other teams are doing it. Then we got to spew the rhetoric. Well, none of these other teams made the worst trade in NFL history. And, the trade sets the team back for 100 years. And, you can't win with that because you're not able to get players through the draft. And then when, Andrew Berry doesn't know how to draft people and blah, 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 blah. And you're just spewing the rhetoric is what you're doing. Problem with that is this. And G. Bush gives I don't know, I think I might have a clip of that too, but he gives a couple examples of like, for example, when San Francisco traded 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance. And Trey Lance never played it down because they ended up, because Shanahan was able to identify a quarterback, and the quarterback that he identified was Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, Brock Purdy. He was able to identify that. He went to the head people upstairs and said, hey, look, I know we spent all this stuff on Trey Lance, but check this out. Brock Purdy is the guy. I'm watching him. When I'm watching him in practice, that's the guy we need to go with. We don't need to go with Trey Lance. We need to go with Brock Purdy. And as crazy as that might have sounded, they went on ahead and they listened to Kyle Shanahan because that's a real coach who really knows what he's doing in the NFL here. So they didn't need to, they didn't cry over spilled milk. They didn't cry and say, oh, but look at the draft picks that we wasted to get Trey Lance. They was like, hey, you think he the guy? All right, well then forget it. We finna get him. And he was the last pick in the draft. While we talk about Shadur Sanders being this fifth round pick, he can't be any cut. Mr. Irrelevant turned out to be okay. Somebody was able to look at him and say, mind you, how they say Shadur, all these other teams passed on him, so he can't be that good. All these other teams passed on Brock Purdy as well. All these teams passed, every team, including the 49ers, passed on Brock Purdy again and again and again and again and again until it was the very last pick. It was the last pick in the draft. There was no more picks after him. And then they decided, you know what, I will get Brock Purdy. I will just take Brock Purdy. guy ended up being okay, didn't he? Because he had a coach that could identify the talent and then utilize that talent's skill sets. Because that's what a good coach is supposed to do. Like, I mean, if you're a good coach, I would think that that's what your job is, more or less. Let's listen to a little bit more of this garbage rhetoric that be spewed here.
Is there a good franchise in the NFL right now, like a franchise that's having recent success, even if they're not great this year, but has been relatively good over the past decade, say, that has tanked?
No.
Recently that I can think of?
Somebody said
in the NFL. I haven't played baseball.
To Jay's point, we're not talking. None of them made the worst trade in NFL history. None of them took a quarterback that is in the running for an MVP.
I mean, absolutely. Oh, that's the same. My fault. But I absolutely still absolutely ridiculous because even outside of 49ers, the Broncos. If anybody remembers the trade that the Broncos did to get Russell Wilson, they traded, I think, 2 first-round picks, a couple other picks, and gave him the stupid fat contract. And when Russell Wilson wasn't working out, they cut him, took the cap hit, and then drafted Bo Nix. And they haven't cared about Russell Wilson since then. Like, they haven't cared. And Bo Nix wasn't this highly touted prospect coming out of college. Bo Nix was one of them Dylan Gabriel guys where he'd been in college for 8 years. That's what Bo Nix was. And somehow the coach over there, what's his name? Drew Brees' old coach. I know his name, but it's slipping my mind right now because I've got too much going on in my mind. But him, Drew Brees' old coach, he took Bo Nix and was like, yeah, watch me. And this is the thing. If he took Bo Nix and didn't win with him, then, I mean, we clearly blame, the coach. Hey, this is your fault, bro. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? This is the guy you picked and you still can't work with him. But he picked this dude and, like, it works out. It ain't the prettiest, but, I mean, they manage to win some football games. They not out here having these 3-14 seasons or back-to-back losing seasons. Like, they not out here doing that. They're not crying over spilled milk. Oh, we can't do anything because we traded these big for Russell Wilson and we cut him and we got the cap hit and it's just the worst. It was such a bad trade that it set us back for 10 years. They expedited the process. Yeah, when you got a competent coach, who can, properly utilize his talent, you can muster up some wins, man, instead of just crying over spilled milk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's just kind of the way that it goes, man. Like,
played terribly and was sacked over 5 times, and now it's the offensive line and wide receivers' fault. When Shedeur played with the guys who didn't make the team, he was labeled as not ready.
I mean, these comments are just so stupid. There's no truth to anything being said. You throw out this, he was being blamed, this was being blamed.
And that's what happens. When you make a good point to people who are narrative pushers, they start name calling. You're stupid. Just like how I pointed out Quincy Carrier in that one live video he was doing when somebody pointed out like how Jackson Dart looked like he could be, a decent QB or, look like the Giants might have found their franchise QB. What did Quincy want to say? Oh, this is the level of intelligence I'm dealing with. One game? Yeah, sure. They found their quarterback. We'll see. Like, basically, like, you stupid for even bringing this up. But it's like, if you actually watch Jackson Dart, I mean, it kind of gives that vibe. It does. It kind of gives the vibe that, like, hey, man, this guy might be a franchise quarterback. Like, this might be a guy that you can build around for your future. But when you say smart stuff or stuff that makes sense and they ain't got no rebuttal, they don't have no rhetoric to spew at you, that's when they start name calling you. Because somebody just pointed out, like, okay, well, Dylan Gabriel out there playing like butt cheeks with all these ones, surrounded by the ones, and somehow we got to be gracious and give him patience and look at all this other stuff. But when Shedeur was out there with people that ain't even on the roster, he was out there playing with people that ain't even on the roster. Oh, well, Shedeur, see, he's garbage. He's terrible. See, he's using the same stuff that he was doing in college that, running away from the pocket and backpedaling and all this other, blah, 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 blah. So that's what they was pointing out. They like, well, look, when it was Shedeur and bad stuff was happening and he not even playing with NFL players right now. People that's in the NFL right now, they not in the NFL. Y'all told us, well, that means he trash and he not ready. But when Dylan Gabriel out there and he trash, it's you coming up with these other excuses, you know what I'm saying, basically as to why buddy trash. nah, we don't need to be doing that. Address what was there instead of talking about it's just stupid. There's no truth to that. No, it's 100% true, actually. And because you couldn't refute it, you stoop to name calling. Oh, that's just stupid. There's no truth to that. There's a lot of truth to it.
Well, how good are the Bills without Josh Allen? They're a 5-win team, 3-win team, same as the Browns.
Are they 1-5?
I don't care about the Bills.
Yes.
Keep going.
I don't think so.
You don't think the Bills are...
And then here what they argue about, they say, well, if you just swap Josh Allen.
You traded quarterbacks and nothing else. The Browns are arguing about the Bills. We're arguing. James, have you got to go?
Yes, I got to go. Let him go.
I actually have to go too.
If you traded quarterbacks.
What's so crazy is Stefanski got people in such an uproar, like they arguing with each other at this point. Because people in the chat, in the super chat, is pointing out stuff that don't make sense about Stefanski and stuff that don't make sense about the Shador stuff and all that. And then it's like it's so hot. They getting mad at each other. Because the one dude is basically like, he don't want to address none of this stuff that they saying in the super chats that makes sense. He's like, I want to go. I got to go. And then the other guy, he's sitting there doing his job. He like, bro, if you got to go. We sitting here, we having a debate about this. Like, this is what we supposed to do. So if you got somewhere to be or you got to go, just go ahead. If you ask me, that's very freaking unprofessional. That's very unprofessional. Like, if you was getting that from somebody like me, a MFer on the couch, that's different. But buddy, you get paid to do this. Like, why are you being so unprofessional? If you don't want to talk about it, because facts, if you don't want to talk about it, take the mic off and get up and leave, bro. I promise to God, nobody's watching just to see you. So take the mic off, get up and leave so we can hear people talk instead of hearing you say, I got to go. That's what happens when that seat get hot and people start saying stuff that makes sense and you can't refute it.
Browns are far better than the Bills.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that they're 4-2 though.
Damn.
And basically they end by saying, if you just swap quarterbacks, if you take Josh Allen and put him on the Browns and take Gabriel and put him on the Buffalo Bills, that the Browns are automatically better. BS. That is not true. That is garbage. Now, first of all, it's a hypothetical, so we don't, there's really no way to tell. But this is what I'll say. The Buffalo Bills are not necessarily suffering from offensive line issues or running game problems. In fact, they kind of switched to an offensive coordinator when they switched from Ken Dorsey, who was kind of like pass happy or whatever, quote unquote. And they felt like that was a lot of the reason that Josh Allen was having all the interceptions. He was having the turnover problems. So they switched to an offensive coordinator that was more like a run first mindset. And so they found a bit more success, running the ball more as opposed to, doing a lot of the throwing that they was doing with Josh Allen before. So immediately, if you take Josh Allen and you put him here, well, we're not a run-heavy team. Just against the Pittsburgh Steelers, we only ran the ball 12 times with Quinshon Judkins. We threw the ball 50-some times with Dylan Gabriel. So if we got Josh Allen, we probably going to throw it 70 times. And we know that when Josh Allen was throwing the ball a lot, he had trouble turning the ball over. What's another thing that happens in Stefanski's system? We get a lot of interceptions. In fact, I think the last 2 years for certain, we led the league in interceptions. So, you put a guy that was prone to throwing interceptions when he was throwing the ball a lot, you put him with a guy who likes to throw the ball a lot, and his system generates a lot of interceptions when you're throwing the ball a lot. I don't know, man. I think that's a recipe for disaster. That's my personal opinion. And then this same panel of people just talked about how we got the worst wide receiving core ever in the history of the NFL. So that means the wide receiver core is worse than the one that they have in Buffalo right now. So why would we think that Josh Allen is finna come here and all of a sudden Josh Allen is finna make wide receivers catch the ball? He gonna make Jerry Jeudy catch the ball? He's gonna make the tackles be able to block? Like, this is the stupid stuff that I be talking about. When all you think about is the quarterback, you still haven't figured out that swapping the quarterback don't fix all your problems. You still convinced that, it's all Deshaun Watson's fault. If we just had a good quarterback, if we just had a franchise QB. You have a franchise QB that's back there getting broke up. That's what would happen. He'd be back there getting broke up because your offensive coordinator / head coach don't like to run the ball, don't like to do nothing in pass protection to help the offensive line that's struggling to block, and cause dumb plays in short yardage situations or goal line situations. Like, I don't understand that. You will have Josh Allen, and then when you get on 1st and goal, instead of just running the ball to get a touchdown like they would do in Buffalo, instead you want to throw a play action pass to the 3rd string tight end. And then you throw it 2 more times, next thing you know, you're kicking a field goal. Like, that's the type of stuff we do here with the Browns. They don't do that with Buffalo. So that kind of helps contribute to Josh Allen winning over there. So no, it ain't just, well, if you switch the 2 of them, then Josh Allen's going to come over here and win. Nah, that's trash. I don't want to hear that.
A lot of
I think
Hey, they're going to get their wish.
hey, right now,
Gabriel's going to get hurt at some point.
They're going to get.
I think that their focal point is the dome. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, that's depressing.
Yeah, 3 years with guys we don't trust. Sounds like a great plan.
I don't think they're going to try and suck for the next 3 years. I just think that their focal point is the dome. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think this isn't 1 in 31 all over again. But their North Star right now is 1,000% this dome.
So right there, here we go. We making up the excuses for losing because that guy right there, who's a beat writer, like a report writer, a big report writer or whatever in Cleveland. Oh, but the goal isn't to win. They're not winning. You know, the goal is, you know, the dome. That's their ultimate goal. You know, the season was never about winning. And it's one clip that I got where he literally says the season was never about winning. But then he turns around and out the other side of his neck, he says, well, I don't think any of the coaches or the players are in there trying to lose. Well, if the season isn't about winning, this is what I'm trying to figure out. How am I trying to win if the season isn't about winning? I don't make that make sense. You can't in one breath say the season isn't about winning, it's about the dome, but then say, well, all the players and the coaches are trying to win, though. Well, are you trying to win or are you not trying to win? Like, which one is it? We can't say that it's both. It can be both. And he just, tries to cover it up by saying, oh, upstairs has their finger on the dial. Basically saying upstairs got their finger on the dial to make them lose games, even though they're trying to win. Again, more of the dumbest stuff that, just like some of the dumbest stuff that I've ever heard in my life.
Does not care about what your intentions are.
I don't think they are intentional. I don't think one player on that team is intentionally trying to lose.
No.
I don't think one coach on that team is coaching to lose. The thumb has been placed on the scale to... It is what it is.
To what? See how he couldn't even come up with nothing? The thumb has been placed on the scale to... It is what it is. The thumb has been placed on the scale to what? To what? And they saying that because, because they traded Joe Flacco, and traded the one Greg Newsome. So basically they were saying, they're getting rid of good players, and that'll make the team lose because they're getting rid of those players. That doesn't make you lose. You still got to go out there and play the game. Like, I don't understand. That doesn't make you lose. Oh, because they have their thumb on the dial and, to do, and then he couldn't even finish the statement. He couldn't even come up with nothing. He just had to let the dead air roll because he couldn't even come up with what he was trying to say because he knew he was finna say some garbage. Because you can't in one breath say, well, I don't think, this was all about the dome and the season was never about winning, but then turn around and say, well, I don't think any of the coaches or players are in there are trying to lose. It's just the thumb has been placed on the dial to, it is what it is. What does that mean? The thumb has been placed on the dial to what? To make them lose? That doesn't make any sense. That don't make no sense. And no, I also don't think that Jimmy Haslam is up there just being like, I just want to lose. I don't think Haslam up there doing that. I don't think he just wants to lose. I'm sorry. Dome or no dome. I don't think Haslam just wants to lose. I don't think he just wants to be known as the worst organization out there. I'm sorry. I just don't think that's the case, bro. I don't see that. I don't understand how that's a thing, man. It's retarded.
That's just not true. That's just not true.
Charles T says, Spell says Shador dropped on hearsay and behavior, not talent.
That's just not true. That's just not true.
So again, somebody saying that Shedeur dropped basically in the draft based on hearsay, not talent. And then the very important beat writer person, that's not true. That's just not true. Yes, it is. And if it isn't true, tell us why. Tell us why that's not true. Tell us what you saw that Shedeur is so garbage. You haven't seen anything that says that he's garbage. You're just going based off of what Stefanski and Mary Kay Cabot and all of these people are saying. Me personally, I trust what my eyes see. I don't trust what another person is telling me. You know what I'm saying? The old saying go, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear. So just because Kevin Stefanski is telling me that Shedeur Sanders isn't ready, I'm not about to just believe that. I want to see for myself because Kevin Stefanski said that Baker Mayfield wasn't good enough. And Baker Mayfield at this particular point of the season is arguably the MVP of the league. But Stefanski said he wasn't good enough to run his system. So again, my thing is this. Instead of trying to find people that's good enough to run your system, how about you just find somebody that's good enough to win NFL football games at quarterback and then draw up stuff around him? Maybe that's what you need to do. Because Baker Mayfield went over there without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin. Even Emeka Egbuka went down and he threw the ball to some guy who thought they was chanting MVP for him. And they wasn't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Tez Bryant's or something like that. Some guy that you never known of. He over there throwing touchdown passes to him. He throwing I could probably suit up for the Buccaneers right now, and Baker Mayfield could probably throw me a touchdown pass. He over there balling so hard right now. Over there balling so heavy. And again, Kevin said that he wasn't good enough to run his system. So now let's get to my favorite guy, Quincy Carrier, who wants to say why you shouldn't fire Kevin Stefanski in the middle of the season. Let's listen to him give you his expert take on why it's stupid to fire Kevin Stefanski in the middle of the season. Let's listen to this.
Why not? Here's the reason why firing your head coach in the middle of the season when it serves no purpose is such a bad idea. Because there are consequences to it, right? The first consequence and the biggest consequence for the Cleveland Browns is that it's the message it sends to the guys that you're trying to get to take this job, right? Regardless of what you at home think of Kevin Stefanski, people in the coaching community have respect for Kevin Stefanski. Regardless of what you at home think about the two coaches of the year, people in the coaching community respect that Kevin Stefanski is a two-time coach of the year.
So slick shots. You see what I mean? Like when you have good talking points, they like to throw slick shots at you. Well, regardless of what you think about Kevin, basically like you're a nobody. You don't know anything. The people in these coaching circles, they respect Kevin Stefanski and his two-time coach of the year. They respect him. So who cares about you and what you think? So let's just about it.
And they respect that Kevin Stefanski has made the playoffs twice. You might be past the point of caring about those accomplishments, but the people who might take this job are not. It's important to understand that you aren't taking the Browns' job. So, like, so many people are caught up in what they think about those awards and what they think about Kevin Stefanski. It does not matter what you think about Kevin Stefanski, right? And how you handle it if you're the Browns.
See, it does not matter what you think about Kevin Stefanski. Well, if that's the case, it don't matter what you think about him either. I don't understand, but you get to spew your rhetoric. You get to spew how you think he's a good coach. So the same way that you telling other people that don't think he's a good coach that their opinion don't matter, well, neither does yours. But you still sitting in front of a mic giving it. So let's do some more, man.
If these people see from the outside looking in that the Cleveland Browns, for the first time since they come back since 1999, have a two-time coach of the year, a guy who's made the playoffs twice with the franchise that before he got there only made it once, and they fired that guy in the middle of the season, everybody's going to think the same thing, which is nobody's ever going to be safe in that Cleveland job. Why would I take that job, right? There's no security in it. And any of the benefits that you're going to throw at somebody, right? The Browns going to be able to pay you very well. The Browns are going to be able to offer you a team that has some players on it already. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, maybe if he's still on here.
So wait a minute, man. Like, I mean, this is possibly some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life, man, for starters. Because this idea, like that, I mean, first of all, because it was so much garbage that he just said right there. First of all, the shots that he trying to take at people, the coaching community respects Kevin Stefanski. There's a Super Bowl winning head coach by the name of Bruce Arians. And you know what he said about Kevin Stefanski? He said he doesn't know how that guy still has his job. So a guy who's in this coaching community that you're talking about, and not only is he just in the coaching community, he's won a Super Bowl as a head coach. And I think he's had 2 other Super Bowls as an assistant or coordinator or something like that. So 3 Super Bowls being on coaching staffs, 1 Super Bowl as a head coach. So I think he's qualified to speak. I think he's more qualified than you, Quincy Carrier. I think he's more qualified to speak for the coaching community than you are. And he said he doesn't know how that guy still has his job. Not only that, you say, well, you know, because the respect that they have for Kevin Stefanski, that'll override the other stuff that you'll have to offer, you know, the money, the this. So wait a minute. So you mean to tell me, I mean, let's just be honest here. You mean to tell me that a grown man who's, you know, these grown men, like most of them, their dreams is to get head coaching jobs. Like that's their dream. They don't want to be coordinators. And, you know, some people might, but a lot of them, their dream is to be a head coach. So you mean to tell me that they would turn down a better position, making more money. So I'm going to get a better coaching position, you know, possibly my dream job, which is to be a head coach for an NFL team, because there's only 32 of those jobs. So I get to be one of those 32. Not only that, I see the amount of money that the Browns be paying people. So you mean to tell me that me as a person, because the coaches are still people at the end of the day. So basically, I'm gonna look at my wife and I'm gonna tell my wife, no, I'm not about to take this job promotion, and no, I'm not about to take this super fat check that they about to pay me. I'm not gonna do that because I have so much respect for Kevin Stefanski. What? What? I'm gonna tell my wife, yeah, I'm gonna turn down this extra $10 million a year that I could be making to go take this head coaching job with the Browns. I'm going to turn that down because I got so much respect for Kevin Stefanski. You have got to be stupid. You have got to be retarded if you think that that's the way life works. Man, listen here, I could have all the respect for you in the world. I could be like, hey, man, you are such a great guy. You're a smart guy. You got a great football mind. But right after I say all that, I'm going to be like, hey, but respectfully, I'm finna accept this head coaching job for the Browns, man. I got mouths to feed. I got to feed my family. Yeah, man, I got to feed my family. Me and my wife, we've been looking at this new house we want to get. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to build up my kids' trust funds, pay their college off, set them up for life. And this money that the Browns organization is offering me is going to help me do it. So I'm getting ready to go take this Browns job. I got all the respect in the world for you. You my guy. But I'm finna go take this head coaching job with the Browns. That's the way life works, buddy. You don't be like, yeah, I'm not going to take this promotion and this extra fat check with all this money. I'm not going to do that because I just have so much respect for Kevin Stefanski. That is the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life. And then you close out by saying they look at it and say, that job's never going to be safe. You'll never be safe in that job, the head coaching job with the Browns. That's what it'll say to the other coaches that could potentially take that spot. You're telling them that job will never be safe. Actually, bro, it's the exact opposite. Because you mentioned, the 2-time coach of the year. You mentioned he has 2 playoff wins. Mind you, one of them was COVID. He wasn't there. He was at home. He was at home in the basement. He wasn't there. Okay, so the only thing that you're using, again, to defend him, the talking points, 2-time head coach of the year, playoff wins, 2 playoff wins. It's the best that it's been since 99. If anything, what Kevin Stefanski has shown you is that the Browns do provide job security. In 6 seasons, 4 of them have been losing seasons. And the 2 winning seasons that he had, they weren't even back-to-back winning seasons. Like if you had back-to-back winning seasons, I could argue for you a little bit more. But you can't even put together back-to-back winning seasons. In your 6 years here, this is your 6th year. This year's the 6th year. 4 of those years, losing seasons. One of the seasons, a 3-win season. And you putting together what looks to be back-to-back 3-win, potentially back-to-back 3-win seasons. Nothing screams more job security to me than that. Because if I'm an outside coach looking in, I'm looking at it like, well, man, so you mean to tell me that I could make quarterbacks look like trash, I could call a terrible game, make terrible play calling decisions in short yardage and different stuff like that, blame everybody else, keep losing, and still have my job? Like still have people defending me and fighting for me and saying why they think I'm a good coach? If you ask me, I'd feel extremely secure. Because I'll be looking at that job as soon as I go in, I'll be like, all right, so look, y'all gave this last guy, y'all gave him 6 years. And in them 6 years, he only had 2 winning seasons. So I'm looking at it like, well, just give me the same opportunities that you gave him. Give me 6 years to have more than 2 winning seasons. Just give me that. If I'm a coach, and again, I ain't a person that's taking the Browns' job, but I'm not a dummy. And, you know, I'm pretty sure a competent head coach that would be thinking about taking the Browns' job, he would probably be saying to himself, well, like, dude, from what I'm looking at with the players that you got over there, in 6 years, I can do more than 2 winning seasons. In 6 years, with the players that you didn't have, because when you first started out, you had a bomb roster. Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku. The list goes on of players that you had, the talent that you had. So again, the rhetoric dispute about how Andrew Berry didn't draft any talent, he didn't get any talent. He's the one who's going to buy the groceries. He's not giving Kevin anything to cook with. Well, first of all, when Kevin came through the door, he had all the groceries in the world. The refrigerator was packed when he came in. Okay, then he got the making meals. Some of the stuff was good, some of the stuff was bad. That's how he ended up with, playoff win here or there. Some of the stuff was good, some of the stuff was bad. It was a mixed bag, was what it was. But what ended up happening is Stefanski would start taking stuff out of the refrigerator like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I need this. I don't think I need the Lowry seasoning salt. And then Barry probably looking at him like, bro, you don't need the seasoning salt? Like, how you plan on seasoning? You say you don't need that? Oh, like an Odell Beckham. All right, well, you say you don't need it. I'll get him out of it. You said we don't need Odell Beckham because we got Peoples-Jones. All right, well, then I'll get rid of Odell Beckham. And we'll just roll with Peoples-Jones since that fits your system better. Oh, you don't want Jarvis Landry? You think he's washed? All right, well, we won't do nothing with him. You think Nick Chubb is washed? All right, well, we'll get him out of here and we'll stay with Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong. And then when you turn around and you got Jerry Jeudy and you know what I'm saying, and Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford and you know what I'm saying, you looking around and it's like, well, where are the playmakers? Well, Kevin, you said get rid of them because they didn't fit your system. So that's why the roster is what it is right now. Because again, up until this year, they've always told us it's a collaborative effort. It's a collaborative effort. It's a collaborative effort. We collaborate on these things. Everybody together. Everybody's together. We're all under one thinking umbrella. They can't be telling us that, but then in reality, Barry just drafting people without asking Kevin Stefanski what he want or who he want. Barry just drafting people that he won't know. I think that for the first time this year, this was the first time, and we've heard them come out and say, pinpoint people when they never did that before. Haslam said Barry picked Shedeur Sanders. So that means Kevin Stefanski wanted Dylan Gabriel. When Dylan Gabriel was chose to start, Kevin Stefanski said that's 100% on me. That was my decision. It wasn't a collaborative effort this time. He said it was my decision. That was me. I did that. When Joe Flacco got traded, Kevin Stefanski said, yeah, it took us by surprise. And then when they asked him, did you want Flacco traded? He said, no. Mind you, they've never took definitive stances on anything ever before. So for me, I think this is the first year where Haslam and Barry might have got together. And this is just my conspiracy theory. Haslam and Barry got together and was like, hey, look, check this out. We're going to give him his quarterback. We're going to let him run his system because he told us that last year everything was Deshaun Watson's fault. So this year we're going to give him his quarterback. We're going to let him run his system. It better look better than what it did last year. If it don't look better than what it did last year, I want Shedeur. I like Shedeur. I think he can be a franchise quarterback. So I want him. So let Stefanski pick his guy, and then after he do that, if Shedeur on the board, that's who I want. And we going to take him. Do that sound good, Andrew Berry? Andrew Berry was probably like, you know what? Yeah. Because if I'm Andrew Berry and I got to choose between Haslam and Stefanski, I'm finna choose the guy that cut the checks. I'm finna go on the side with Haslam. If Haslam likes Shedeur and wants Shedeur, well, I'm finna be with Haslam. Let's go with Shedeur and let Kevin go with Dylan and let Kevin do whatever Kevin want to do. Because with Kevin doing, it don't look good out there. In this draft in particular, they talk about, oh, you should have got offensive line. You should have did this. You should have did that. Okay, cool. But then why Kevin Stefanski ain't say that? Why he ain't say, well, get me lineman instead of Dylan Gabriel, and then I'll work one of these other quarterbacks out? Or why he ain't say, hey, don't trade Kenny Pickett. I need him. I'm going to use him. Why? And again, I think Joe Flacco was took off the table because when he got to doing all that, I won't name the. First of all, you move Flacco to the 2 when Shedeur clearly should have been moved up. Flacco was playing so bad in your system, it's just like, bro, we should never see that again. He was putting up Deshaun Watson numbers and turning the ball over. So, like, we shouldn't see that anymore. So I think Barry and Stefanski was like, all right, well, you know what, let's trade Joe and let's see what he do then. Because I think Haslam, like, I'm not going back to Joe Flacco. If something happened to Dylan Gabriel, I'm not going back to Joe Flacco. I don't want to see no more of Joe Flacco. I don't want to see no more of that. You told me to bring him back and then run y'all offense and it was going to look better. And no, you look just like Deshaun Watson. So no, I don't want to see no more of him. So they traded him and they got him up out of there for whoever was willing to offer something. They didn't care where it was. That's how he ended up with the Bengals. We don't care where he go. We just got to get him up out of here because Stefanski, we don't want to see no more of that. We don't want to see that no more. We don't want to see no more of that. So for me, if you ask me, the Browns job, if I'm a coach on the outside looking in, that's low-key one of the safest jobs out there because Bruce Arians already said he don't know how the dude still got his job this long. So to me, that screams job security. Over here, you allowed to continuously mess up. Your team could lead the league in pre-snap penalties, be top 5 to top 10 in penalties every year. Your receivers could drop the ball. You can call stupid plays where your average yards per pass attempt is 3.5. You can run the ball 12 times with your stud running back and throw the ball 52 times on the road with a rookie QB in his second start. You can do all this stuff that don't make any sense and still keep your job. You can be bad at your job and still keep it. Nothing screams more stability to me than that. So, I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous for a guy like Quincy to be spewing that type of rhetoric. Like, if you ask me, man, a lot of these people are jeopardizing their credibility as reporters and people who keep track of the Browns and all that other stuff. They losing. Kevin Stefanski is making these people lose credibility. Because even Quincy himself has a video where he legit is questioning if Kevin Stefanski is a good, like, if he should be the guy moving forward. Legit questioning, like, well, let's just say if the quarterback is in 26, do you trust that Kevin Stefanski can, number one, identify him? And then if he does identify him, can he get the best out of him? We don't know. You can't say it definitively. We don't know. Because Kevin Stefanski, you had your pick of quarterbacks this year. You didn't say you wanted Jackson Dart. You didn't say, because you had the number 2 overall pick. Because if Jackson Dart turns out to be a baller and turns out to be a franchise QB, well, why didn't you identify that? And why didn't you pick him with the number 2 pick overall? Why didn't you do that? So if you couldn't identify Jackson Dart, how can I trust that you're finna identify one of these quarterbacks in 2026? And if you do, God forbid we put him in this terrible offensive scheme that you have where you don't throw the ball past 5 yards, where you're running a bunch of stick routes and curl routes. And not only that, all of the receivers are they running their routes right by each other. How can you trust that? And then that's why I say they talk outside of their neck, because in one breath, Quincy will say that, but then turn around and say, well, but this is why you don't fire the guy in the middle of the season. Hey, man, fire him. What is keeping him through the end of the season? What is that doing? What is that going to do? How does that help you? When you're saying that firing him now won't help you. Well, what does keeping him, how does that help you? Because by keeping him, the only thing that you're doing is ticking off the players even more that don't like him. You're continuing to lose, so you're continuing to build this losing culture that you've built over the past 6 years, a losing culture. You're continuing to build that. And you're showing the players that you don't care. You don't care about it. You don't care that you losing and you look that bad. Because for me, if I'm one of the players, whether I truly like Stefanski or whether I don't, one thing that I would be tired of as a player is what Myles Garrett said. I'm tired of losing, and not only that, we keep losing the same way. So even if I do like Stefanski, I'm real enough to say, hey man, I'm tired of losing the same way. Can we do something different? Can we please try something different? I'm tired of losing like this. Please, can we do something different? You got mic'd up episodes where Shedeur talking about he want to throw the ball down the field, and then Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, one of them tell him, you got to go ask Kevin. You got to ask Kevin if you can throw the ball down the field. What? You think Patrick Mahomes has to ask Andy Reid if he can throw the ball down the field? No. That's like Steph Curry having to ask Steve Kerr, can he shoot a three-pointer? What? What? I gotta go ask Kevin if I can throw the ball down. I got much more, but you know what? I'll save it because I got much more. I'll save it for another episode because, probably spent enough time listening to me talk and debunk this absolute garbage that they keep spewing. When they lose to the Miami Dolphins, because they will, and then, hey, if they end up winning, man, hey, it is what it is, and I'll eat the crow about the blue. But in my mind, as bad as the Dolphins have looked this year, I still think the Browns going to lose to the Dolphins. I still think they're going to lose. When they lose to the Dolphins, you're still going to be some people trying to cape for Stefanski. But I think you're going to see even more people start to switch over. And then I'm going to be like, okay, so all this other stuff that he did up to this time wasn't enough to fire him. But by God, you lost to the Dolphins. That's a fireable offense because you lost to the Dolphins. All this other stuff was fireable as well, bro. It shouldn't have took just a loss to the Dolphins to wake everybody up. Because in my opinion, you lose to the Dolphins, like I think you need to be fired immediately. Like that following Monday, it need to be breaking news. Kevin Stefanski is fired. And I don't care who the interim head coach is. Make anybody the interim head coach. I don't care. Matter of fact, make Quincy Carrier the interim head coach. In my mind, I think he'd do a better job than what Stefanski doing. As long as he don't do the stuff that Stefanski was doing. Okay? But in my mind, I think I'd take anybody. I've said it before. Give me the best Madden player and just let him do it. And I think he would do a better job. Because if you got Quinshon Judkins, a Madden player, you got Quinshon Judkins, I think he's just going to spam Quinshon Judkins. You know what I'm saying? On Madden, people, they be like, who is my best players? All right, well, I'm just going to spam them. I'm going to just keep throwing the ball to my best player. I'm going to keep handing the ball to my best player. What's my best play? Well, I'm going to just keep running that until they stop it. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens when we come with this Miami Dolphins game, because I'm here to tell you, boy, Mary Kay Cap and them talking about that seat ain't hot up under Stefanski. I don't see how it ain't. I don't see how it's not. And if it's not, then that's just all the more proof that there's no more secure head coaching job in the world than the one that is for the Cleveland Browns. Dogs on the couch, man. So I don't know.